I own a smaller piece of like 10 different businesses where I only do what I like to do in the business, and they all prosper because we've got the other right team members in it. And that's kind of what some of the successes I heard that you were talking about have happened.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, there's all these types of different things. Sometimes you've got people who are really talented in marketing like me, who pair up with somebody who has got a pretty heavy hitter, maybe in the commercial construction business, and they go out and they buy businesses and take them to the next level. So there's all types of different ones.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. We have a great guest today, Chris Moore. We're gonna dive into all things business acquisition and entrepreneurship, like digital marketing, consulting for equity, things that you guys should all know about. I mean, we're gonna just scratch the surface today, but I went through one of Chris's programs and I learned so much. And as I was getting ready for this podcast episode, I went through one of his another podcast he was on, and I was like, man, I'm just getting so much information from this guy, and he really just goes into companies and infuses a bunch of knowledge and marketing abilities and scales companies, right? And then just understanding, like, when you're talking to a seller, that a potential seller of a business, how you can like potentially add value to them and work yourself into the deal. It doesn't necessarily have to be a complete buyout. There's so many things with business acquisitions, and most of the deals don't get done on biz, buy, sell people. Like, you can look all you want, but maybe 10 or 20% of businesses actually sell on that platform. So where are all these other businesses happening? So today's conversation, we're going to unpack a buy box, business acquisition, off-market lead generation, things like that. That's how you really need to buy businesses. So welcome to the show, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, you've done a lot. I mean, you were in marketing for big MLM companies. You've written a best-selling book, all these things, real estate investing, real estate agent. And every time you did, you realized there's a better way. And I liked your analogy where you were like, you got good at selling property, but you realized you didn't want to be the person selling real estate because it's a grind, right? And so we evolve. And there's so many people on my show that book calls with me, and they're like, hey, I'm W-2. They do good. They do well. They're making $200K a year. They got 3 or 4 rental properties. They're living better than the average American, but they're ready to like, hey, how do I bring it to the next level? I think that's what is exciting about business acquisition and all these things that most people are never going to figure out how to do until it's like, I think the next 5 to 10 years is really kind of like the baby boomer succession plan of of them selling their businesses. We're going to go through like a huge boom over the next 10 years. So either you start getting it now and jump in before everybody else wants to start doing it and get the competitive advantage. Is that kind of how you feel about this industry right now?
At some level, yeah. I think there's so many baby boomers retiring, like you said, and I think we need to preserve the legacy of small business. And if we don't buy these businesses, they're going to shut the doors. I mean, only 1 of every 12 businesses that goes on the market actually sells between 1 and 10 million in revenue. So I think it's a blue ocean. What I say jumping in absolutely right now is do or die. I wouldn't say that, because I think it's going to be a very viable market even 5-10 years from now, but definitely getting a head start on it. There's a lot of deals off market right now, and it's ripe for a picking. So I think timing is right for sure.
Yeah. So the majority of your students that are coming through the program and having success, they're having success because they're getting a good, they're diving deep into finding off market deals, right? Can you talk to us just about some strategies that some of your students are using?
Sure. Yeah. Can we also define like what our company is too? So it gives them more context, right? So We've got Dealmaker Wealth Society. Carl Allen is my business partner. He's the actual guru, business acquisitions, #1 coach in the world for small business acquisition. So kind of going back to the question, there's a lot of things that we teach that are very unique compared to anybody else who's teaching business acquisition. Finding off-market deals is definitely one of them, but really focusing on finding deals between 1 and 10 million in revenue. That's kind of the sweet spot. Do you mind if I kind of elaborate and go over why?
Yeah, no, go ahead. This is great.
Let's go. So the sweet spot of 1 to 10 million is really key, because when you go after businesses that are under $1 million in revenue, more often than not, you're literally going after buying a job from the seller. Because when you're under $1 million in revenue, usually the business can't afford to have middle management layers in place. And without middle management layers in place, you're buying a job, right? So the seller's wearing multiple hats. Maybe there's sales and marketing, there's operations, and there's finance and HR. Usually the seller's holding one or two of those positions, and you can't buy that business as an owner investor because you're going to have to operate it at some level, or the business is not already paying somebody else that. So the profit margins and the finances completely change. If you buy a business that small, you're going to have to plug somebody in to run it. All the numbers change and the profit's completely different, right? So, and then over 10 million, you're competing at much higher trade multiples. You're competing with private equity firms and family office money, and people that have way more money than you, and strategic buyers. So that 1 to 10 million is that sweet spot. So that's part of what we focus on. Off market is definitely a big focus. And that's where the better deals are found, where you're not having to deal directly with business brokers on every transaction, because we teach a lot around seller psychology. Any type of creative finance, go back over to real estate. We were talking great about Pace Morby and some stuff he's doing. That creative finance is all about seller psychology. So being able to go after off-market deals, we go directly to sellers and we can talk directly with them and not have to worry about the middleman being in the way. And then lastly, I know you're a real estate guy as well. We love the idea of distressed deals, of course, right? We don't do that in business acquisitions. We actually go after great businesses with distressed sellers. Totally different. So the business isn't distressed. The seller has something going on where they need a safe pair of hands to take their business and take it to the next level and protect their employees, protect their legacy and reputation, continue to serve their customers, who's not going to rip it just apart for parts, and just take their customer list. Somebody's actually going to be a good steward of the business, because a lot of times they have something going on. They're burnout. They want to retire. They have no one to hand the business over to. Their kids don't want it. And then, quite frankly, here's the biggest secret that most people don't understand. A lot of these people are terrified to put their business for sale, terrified, because they've seen other people do it. It confuses the employees. It can confuse their customers. People think they're going out of business, and it can literally be suicide for their company. So there's so many people literally sitting there waiting for you. Say, Beau, I just wish someone would come to me and ask me what my exit strategy is. They're waiting for someone to ask that. So that's kind of what we do. Hope that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I get a lot of people calling, and they have no clue. They want to get away from their W-2 job. Where do you guys advise people just really start to look at like building a buy box?
So buy box, I love the concept because it transcends from real estate investing and in business investing. We also call it something called deal specification. I think the buy box and what Carl teaches specifically is focused around staying in your lane. Like, imagine you have a W-2 job. Let's say you're an executive at a company. You've been there for 20 years. You feel like you're tired of making somebody else rich and tired of building somebody else's empire and legacy, and you want to be a business owner. You can take the same skills that you've accumulated over those 20, 30 years as an executive in a specific industry, and you can go buy a business in the same industry that you have expertise in. And what makes that real special is, think about that seller that you're talking to about buying their business. If you already understand their business, you speak their language, you really understand the ins and outs of how they acquire a customer, the type of overhead they have, their employees, everything. And you imagine you would be a good safe pair of hands for them, 100%. And then let's talk about broker and lending and money for a minute. Do you feel like a bank would feel a lot better about lending money to somebody who has proven track record and expertise in that industry, right? So my first suggestion would be, if you're W-2, is look in your lane. Sometimes there may be some non-competes and things out there, but I would look at staying in your lane, look at your passions, your skill sets, your experience, your knowledge, and where can you translate that over to business ownership, and just buy a business that's already operating rather than trying to start one. So that's one way to do it. Some skill set, some experience doesn't translate well, right? So let's say I'm a real estate investor and I've been doing that professionally for 20 years. And I've been doing fix and flips and long-term rentals and things like that. Well, I don't really understand what industry would be good for me. How does that translate? Well, there's a lot of opportunities to use that as kind of a scratch your own itch. You ever heard that concept?
Mm-hmm.
Like a scratch your own itch business. You could go use your network of all the other people that you've done business with. You could go buy home service businesses that you're real familiar with. You've probably paid tons in subcontractors, general contractors, remodeling companies, roofers, drywall companies. You're probably really familiar with that concept, especially if you've been flipping and being the contractor yourself. You can go and buy home service businesses, which are always in style. You can do all kinds of things. You can buy property management firms. You can buy a SaaS company, software as a service, that maybe is similar to something you've been using for many years for your real estate business. So just kind of thinking about it that way. But that's a great way to look at it. And then lastly, sometimes Carl calls these horizontal skill sets. Say you're great at like what I do, business growth strategy. Let's say you're a CPA. Let's say you're a financial analyst. There's things, well, I could really go in any business and make an impact with what I'm able to do. So at that point, you have a lot more options than most other people. You can go and buy a business in your field, or you can go choose a new industry that has maybe better customers, better margins than what you're doing now, where you can make a lot more money with less effort, and you can focus on that. You can partner with other people who are lacking your skill set and go and partner on multiple companies at once. It's literally a blue ocean. There's so many different ways to do it.
Yeah, like for me, when I was going through the course, I was like, yeah, I want to be an owner investor because I'm definitely not an owner operator. I am a marketing guy by, just that's what I like to do. I'm a promoter, but I don't like to get in the weeds with bookkeeping and like running the business from an operational standpoint. So I was like, owner, investor, who the operator will be, or the potential partner, or can I bring in an operator, right? That's what I want to do. So then you got to go down the weeds. But I think it's good for people to understand, like, I think most people, they just go and start looking on these websites and they think they're going to magically find a business, but they haven't gone to school to learn how to do any of this, which I think is a big mistake. You got to learn the framework. And there's systems like yours out there they can go through and get an idea of like, okay, like now I have a clear understanding of how these things operate, because a lot of people just don't know. And that's why probably 95% of people that are telling me that they're going to go buy a business, they never buy a business because they don't have a method to buy a business. So like I deal with this like every day. Oh, what about SBA financing? It's like, well, you don't even know what you're going to buy. You have no idea. You haven't been mentored. You can't just go buy a business. I mean, you're going to probably run it to the ground if you go that way. So I think it's good that you guys are providing education so people can get kind of a framework and they can be around other people that are acquiring businesses. I'm in a mastermind group called Go Abundance. There's about 900 guys in that group. We have a micro tribe. It's a small business micro tribe, and everybody. Most of these people are multimillionaires in this group, and then they're talking about businesses they're acquiring. So I'm in there listening, and like I'm always learning. And I know the SBA lending side, but that's only one small piece of the equation. That's why I'm still taking classes and trying to educate myself, because there's always so much to learn. When you talk about practice growth through acquisition, can you kind of define that for me?
Sure. So growth through acquisition is essentially buying your market share, buying your competitors instead of trying to grow using traditional sales and marketing. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. So you talk, because some of your topics that I had on your notes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that's when we're talking about that, is like, it's almost what the private equity companies call roll-ups, essentially.
Yeah. So roll-ups, bolt-ons, tuck-ins, when you have a business already and you want to grow and be worth more money, raise your EBITDA, you can either go out and use traditional sales and marketing and try to acquire new customers. And there's a lot of risk with that, of course, or you can just go buy your competitors or complementary businesses and grow that way. So it's just buying your growth rather than trying to earn it. You can call it a bolt-on. That's specifically when you buy one more business and you leave their branding in play. It's a great where you usually share maybe a customer base. So there's lots of cost synergies and you can cross-sell. A tuck-in is when you buy a business like that and you tuck it in and it takes on your branding. And then you also have roll-ups where you're buying multiple companies, and there's a couple different ways that works, where usually you're serving all the same type of customer. And there's lots of cross-selling opportunities. So we're doing several roll-ups just in our own private equity firm right now. And then we've done bolt-ons for sure, mergers. But yeah, that's one way to do it. So when you were referencing our course, just to add context to it, we have a $197 course made for beginners called the 10-Day Business Buying Launch. And that's what you were referencing. It's got more value than, and this is what you said as well, than most of anybody else who teaches business acquisitions in their $3,000 or $4,000 course. But it tells you like that framework, and it does touch on those type of things kind of in the shallow end, but we have much more material specifically around those topics. But you think about people who are interested in buying businesses. Yeah, you do have the W-2 people who want to go out there and work for themselves. Believe it or not, a lot of the people we work with are real estate investors who are looking to be able to make a lot more money from one deal than what they're doing now, or real estate investors who are frustrated with the lack of inventory and the abundance of competition, and interest rates are high, so it's messing up their margins on their fix and flips and then their rentals. Like, we have a lot of people who are just looking to diversify, who are still staying in real estate, but also doing business as well. So, and then go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's who I deal with a lot. And all these people now are reaching out because they're like, there's got to be a better way. They're still W-2. They own, 5 or 6 or 8 rental units, but like that's still not enough cash flow to quit their W-2 job. And so it's like, yeah, well, it makes sense to own a business, because a business potentially with a little bit of equity injection into the deal, potentially none if you know how to structure deals, I could then take on this cash flowing revenue that's going to pay me 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month. And now that's going to supercharge my real estate investing, because we all know that's like the real secret. You need a cash flow machine, and then you got to take that cash flow and invest in passive real estate, and you get tax write-offs from that and stuff. So that's my mindset going forward. And like, I am like gung ho, like what are my options? First of all, I'll partner with people and put equity in a deal like I talked to you about before we went live. But I would say it is a little bit frustrating, because I'm like, I feel like I could do anything, right? Like, because I have that marketing mind, but also I'm trying to narrow down the focus. But yeah, for anybody, like if you want to just get like a really strong basic foundation, that's like the best $200 you're going to spend. Like, do that before you go start look for a business. And then after that, you take that course, just be like, okay, this is what I want to do. Maybe you'll realize like, hey, I'm not cut out for this. I'll just invest in rental properties, which is fine. But I guarantee you, if you're a driven person, you're going to take that and you're going to go, okay, this is giving me the framework where I can now really start looking for a business, and not like, because you're going to be probably like 80 to 90% more probable that you're going to buy a business after even just going through that short 10-day course than if you try to do it on your own, because most of us just don't have the basic framework of how this all works.
And, transactionally, it does have similarities to a real estate transaction, but it's got a lot of things that are different too. Totally different, right? There's a whole nother period of vetting and due diligence that you just don't do in real estate. There's the idea of sending letter of intents before you actually make a full offer. Like, there's a whole nother level of structure to a deal. And if you don't know that, you're not going to definitely get anybody's trust as you go in there and you're not even doing the right steps. What's interesting? Like, let's go back to real estate investing, right? Imagine just somebody you normally deal with and they see a property. There's so many different things they can do with it. They could wholesale it. They could do something like subject to. Pace has the Pace Morby method. You could fix and flip it. You could buy it and turn it into a long-term rental. You can turn it into a short-term vacation rental. Like, there's wraps, there's all these different things. And what's interesting is that business acquisitions is really the same, right? So when you get in and you start diving in, there's so many different options. Every time you actually have an opportunity that crosses your desk or an off-market deal you originate, you can do all the exact same things. You can literally wholesale the deal and say, hey, listen, I don't really want to buy it. I'd rather take a $20,000 success fee. And I have a list of investors, just like a wholesaler would. And I'm going to go put your business in front of those people. And essentially it's a paper flip, and they have an option to buy on it, and they make 20 grand. We have people that do that all the time, and they play their strengths. We've got people who would love to get in the business and grow it without even buying it. We do consulting for equity deals where they go and inject their experience and their ability to affect change in the business, get free equity and get a retainer fee like a consultant, and then they grow the business. So that's what I do specifically, right? Then you have other people who are just deal scouts, who go out there and take a flat fee every time there's a transaction, and all they do is originate all day long, right? So it's interesting how you can take the skills that you've already generated and created in this other industry and translate it over so easily. So, and then in your position uniquely, I mean, the idea of being able to help people get financing or hard money loans or SBA loans, you could go in and literally partner with people as your success fee and just get them financing. There's so many people in our program where they get all the way to the finish line, and the financing is the last thing that they're trying to tackle. And that's the one thing that makes or breaks most deals, is not understanding the financing piece. So I could introduce you to a whole world of people that you could partner with just because you're bringing financing to the table, or even partial financing, right? Yeah, so you could, without having to do anything else, without having to originate any deals, nothing.
Yeah. You
It's
just
insane.
you just made me huge money. See, like it's all about creating value, and that's what you said earlier. As long as I was asking Chris what he wanted to talk about. He says whatever I can bring value to, right? And that's exactly like what I try to do. Is like people book calls with me. I talk about all of the financing options. Sometimes I say, hey, I'm not the best option. Call this credit union. Um, so I love that, and thank you for that tidbit because that's powerful. Let's talk about. I think what you do really well is your marketing background, your marketing mind. I think like not everybody's got a marketing mind, and like to me, like I'm a marketer by I just love marketing, and I got into YouTube and like using TubeBuddy to get ranked, and then people find my videos, and then people come and book a call, and then I originate a deal because of that. And I heard you talking about how you have some like a deal origination marketing components, and just like give me a little like flavor of how you're using your marketing mind to create off market leads.
Are you trying to escape the W-2 rat race? Or have you always wanted to own your own business? Have you ever thought about owning a franchise? If so, franuniversity.com can help. Our training program teaches you everything you need to know about franchise ownership, from choosing the right franchise to launching and running your business. We have the resources and specialists to help you from A to Z. You'll gain the skills and knowledge you need to succeed as a franchise owner. The best part, it's free to join. Go to franuniversity.com.
So some of the like I give away almost everything I do. I get like I'm an open book. I'll teach everyone everything I know. There's only a few things that I keep close to the vest just because they've got some pretty big, they're proprietary, right? But I can talk about like theoretically how we do it. So I play my strengths, right? So I'm not a master of LinkedIn. That's not my thing. I'm not the best SEO guy in the world or YouTube SEO guy in the world. I'm a paid ads media buyer by trade for a long time. And I build funnels and I can channel demand and I can go out there and generate leads like nothing you've ever seen before. So that's what I do. So for our deal origination, I've generated these funnels where we are getting people to literally raise their hand and say, yes, I'd like to sell my business. And then we have the other part of what I do is train sales teams. So we've created sales and setter teams of people who are dialing these people who are interested in selling their business that are not on the market. And we push them through a workflow. So that's what I do. Inside our program, though, we actually don't even do that really inside of our program because that's such a specialized skill set. So we teach people 3 or 4 other ways to do off-market deal origination that's a lot easier to execute, including direct response, handwritten letters that get sent out to people that are really, really effective, got a great response rate. There is that LinkedIn, they call it the net and the spear method, where we're doing a lot of the connections, a lot of messages, as well as that's the spear. And the net is more around the broader set of connections that you've been making the entire time and posting. There's like skip tracing and going to Data Axle and getting demographic lists of exactly the buyers or the sellers you're looking for based off of their age, geographic location, industry, and going in direct approach there. We have people who are doing cold calling. We have people who are canvassing. We have people who are going in and infiltrating essentially associations and groups of all their perfect sellers in one place, adding tons of value and offering consulting services and then going into consulting for equity. So what I like to do the most is the funnels, and I really focus more on the conversion process. Like once we get the leads in, how do we convert them at a highest level, right? And then the last thing I focus on is more teaching that last method, which is how to find where all of your perfect seller opportunities are congregating all together, going in there, providing tons and tons of value and having it more be a magnetic experience where they're coming to you and literally offering you part of their business. So that's what I like to do. And that's what we teach.
So like when I was listening to your last podcast, I realized that you're really good at reverse engineering things. Like that is your like, I mean, you probably have more superpowers, but that is such a superpower that you have. And so like people that are going to be watching this in the future and you're like, oh my God, like I don't want to do any of that. Well, then what you have to do, you have to go, okay, you have to use that little brain between your ears and you got to go, okay, well, what if you got into a community, right? You can get into a community where there's deal flow. So like if you get into like your different communities, you can get in there and then you can get access to deal flow where you can partner or maybe somebody will bring you a deal for a fee. And so like, talk to us a little bit about some of the deals that you're seeing getting done in your community, and like
Sure.
maybe one or two cool deals that have gotten done,
Yeah.
like how they did it and all that stuff, how they were
Yeah.
found.
Even this year to date, we've had hundreds of deals closed in our community. Let's talk about football for a second, if you don't mind. We'll go right back to your topic. But in football, if every team just had a whole bunch of same people all in the same position, they'd be terrible. Like if you had all running backs, you'd be terrible. If you had all quarterbacks, you'd be terrible. If you only had running backs and quarterbacks, the team would never win any games. Like we have all these different positions. So what we see in our community a lot is exactly what you were just referring to, is maybe like the idea of going out and doing all the ads or doing this direct approach method and getting deals isn't your strength, but you're really, really good at something else. You can join as a part of a bigger team, play your position, and close multiple deals together. We have so many buying groups that are actually being originated inside of our group. People that were maybe in an accountability group together and realized they had these skill sets that really fit together well and complemented each other. For instance, if you were a CPA or an attorney, you could literally walk into our community and be a part of tons of deals just from doing what you do every day without having to thrash or multitask, just helping with finances, being the fractional CFO of these companies, or helping with the due diligence and the analyst information, like all that stuff. You could just do what you do, right? So I guess if you want to talk about cool deals being done, is my first thing is the partnership deals. We have so many people coming together. And maybe somebody who's real young is leveraging somebody who's older and leveraging their credibility to be able to get the bank to say yes to finance it. Sometimes we have somebody who has a lot of money and not very much time. And you have somebody else who has a lot of time and not very much money. Boom, they come together. This person does all the hard work. This person's a little bit of a wallet, and they're able to get deals across. I mean, there's all these types of different things. Sometimes you've got people who are really talented in marketing like me, who pair up with somebody who has got a pretty heavy hitter, maybe in the commercial construction business, and they go out and they buy businesses and take them to the next level. So there's all types of different ones. When it comes to giving you very specific deals that have closed, I'm not going to do that just because we have privacy, policy inside of our community, but I can give you lots of different scenarios, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing that's interesting is what we teach is called an annuity deal. Carl coined this, he made this up, and it's a way of essentially doing 100% seller financing deals, but positioning it as an annuity payment for the seller, right? Have you ever heard of that before?
No, I mean, maybe in a different language, but not that way. So I'm curious for sure.
So it's an interesting thought, right? So take the idea of seller financing. Not everyone really is open to that concept, correct? I mean, It's the idea of, I decided to sell my business because I want to cash out. I want a big lump sum of money at closing. But what's really interesting, let's go back to your baby boomer conversation earlier. It's average. We've done the research. The average baby boomer business owner has less than $200,000 in retirement. And the interesting reason why is a lot of times they've looked at their business and this entire time as their retirement. And they've been banking one day on a cash out. Well, what happens when you cash out is you pay a lot more in tax, right? It's not very tax advantageous. So Carl's repositioned the seller financing and business acquisitions as an annuity deal, where you can literally give the seller an annuity payment at closing that allows them to have a lot of tax savings, allows them to continue to draw an income from their business without having to step in the door again, right? And when you do that, that income in retirement is checked because they don't have that already set up in place. Beyond that, the tax savings is great. And there is ways to make almost like a clawback clause. Like if the buyer defaults, the business owner could take it back as collateral and keep the money, almost like you would do an owner financing deal in real estate, right? So it's got some really cool benefits. A lot of our students are doing those type of deals, because when deals have a sense of urgency, when someone really needs to leave the deal quickly and sell the business, it's a great opportunity for you to be able to do that. And then let's talk about SBA for a second. That's a process, right? How long does that take on average?
Oh man, it's if it's a bigger deal and if there's real estate involved, it takes a lot longer. No real estate involved, you're still like 90 days at least minimum.
What happens when they don't have 90 days? What happens when they want to sell quickly, right? So this is another alternative. So you can do a lot lighter due diligence on the front end. It's got a lot of benefits for the seller. They don't have to go figure out, what do I do with this lump sum of money to make it last the rest of my life? Because you're able to give them an annuity payment. And sometimes we're seeing it 5, 10, even 20 years, depending on the age of the seller. And they say, hey, listen, if I die, just keep making the payments to my survivors.
Yeah.
So
and I think
it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, listening to like Carl, he knows how to talk to people and present something that may look like seller financing, but it's an annuity structure. And like it just changes the seller's mindset completely. And like these are things that, like, even though I understand seller financing, I was like, well, what's the annuity? I knew it was some kind of payment. But see, it's just like setting these conversations and expectations, and that's how these deals are getting done. Because the nice thing about business acquisition is that there's more seller financing, and those type of deals are more customary than in a real estate deal. So I think from
Exactly.
that standpoint, it's easier to negotiate. But it opens up the, like, there's just so many ways to structure deals. And I loved hearing about the partnership, because I was like thinking, yeah, that's like perfect for me, because I can infuse my marketing and my deal structuring abilities, but have somebody that's really good with like the CFO position, running books and like running the company from a day-to-day operation. I do what I like, and I can own multiple businesses, right? Like that's the goal, is like I own a smaller piece of like 10 different businesses where I only do what I like to do in the business, and they all prosper because we've got the other right team members in it. And that's kind of what some of the successes I heard that you were talking about have happened.
Yep.
And that makes a lot of sense.
And some people are operations specialists, some people are visionaries, some people are integrators. So it's a lot of opportunity for people to come and complement each other's skill sets and get deals done. I was at an event. We have an event company as well. We host these pretty big events. And this guy told us, he said, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go as a group. It's just an interesting concept. We talk about why some people end up joining our big community and our inner circle mastermind and get mentored, and why they don't succeed. And then we also look at the people who've done really well. And we've been studying the characteristics of each. We've been studying the activity levels. We've been studying characteristics of their character and all the different things. And we found over and over again, the people that come in the group and the people who are actually closing deals and close deals fast and close a lot of deals do a couple things that the rest aren't. And so we've been always trying to focus on teaching that specifically. Do you want me to share those things? It's kind of an interesting thing.
Yes, please do.
So there's 3 reasons why people usually don't end up buying a business. And I'm thinking you're going to understand this, and you're going to say, yes, a lot of people you've dealt with have done these things. So number 1, they haven't done the right activities, right? So any type of business, period, any type of prospecting, sales, marketing, getting more customers, you have to go out and do certain things, and they're prospecting activities, or you have no business, right? So we teach something called XYZ. Carl teaches XYZ. It's originate deals, meet sellers, make offers. Those are the 3 things. Those are the key performance indicators to indicate whether you're going to be successful. You can't go out and originate deals. You're going to have no opportunities to talk to sellers. Without talking to sellers, you're not going to have an opportunity to make an offer. So those are the 3 things we focus on. The next thing is the fact that most people only go what they think is the easy route, right? They go and they try to go to broker sites like BizBuySell. And there's a lot of really good brokers and a lot of really good broker deals. But in general, it's really something we call the broker wall that people hit. They go and they say, oh, wow, this business looks great. Why the hell would I go and try to find a business off market? You got 2 million deals right here that look fantastic. Look at these. This one's profiting $1 million a year, right? Until you go and submit a request, and you have to provide financials up front, and they want to know how liquid you are, and they want all this information just to be able to show you anything. And that has often doesn't have very much to do with the deal whatsoever. I mean, sometimes if you're going to go after certain types of financing or SBA lending, that your personal financial qualifications come into play, but often it doesn't. I mean, that's called the broker wall, and you're constantly getting blocked. You can't necessarily talk directly to the seller. You're not able to use any of the type of seller psychology. If you told them you're interested in some sort of seller financing or annuity deal, they'd probably laugh at you and tell you no one does that, which is BS to begin with. So people hit the broker walls where they don't actually go out and look for off-market deals. And that's why we focus on that so strongly. And then the other thing is they don't do the right activities. If you don't go out and originate deals, meet sellers, and make offers, you're not going to buy a business, right? And then the third thing is they don't punch past the target, right? So think about Bruce Lee. He always said he never punched at his opponent's nose. He punched past their head. He punched past the target. He went completely through it. And the way we translate that to what we do is if you go out and originate a few deals and you're working these deals and you're going through the whole process, and at the very end, you have this one business deal you've been working for 3 or 4 months, and then at the end, it falls out. You're going to be demoralized and discouraged and upset, and you're going to feel like throwing in the towel. But if you would have done something a little different and punched past the target and originated 30 deals and went out there and did the same process in parallel over and over and over again, one of those horses is going to win the race. And understanding that, you set yourself up for failure. We also have something called deal heat, when you get really emotionally attracted and excited about a deal and you start allowing logic to go by the wayside and you start making concessions in the deal and the negotiations because you really want it, right? So punching past the target, originating way more deals than you can even close is a surefire way to be able to make sure, hey, if this one doesn't work out, I've got 4 other options, right? So those are the reasons why people who decide to buy a business end up not being successful. And I'm sure that kind of resonates with some of the conversations you've had with other people, right?
Totally. Yeah. You just nailed it. I mean, there's no question. Is like, people go about it the wrong way. Even in just looking at real estate deals, it's all the same way. If you're doing what everybody else does. I remember this, the guy that I'm in a group with, and he's worth close to $200 million. So I listened to him. And
Makes sense.
he's like, if you want to do more deals, look at more deals, right? Like, and most people just don't get that basic first initial concept. Like, you're not going to do deals if you're not looking at deals and not understanding what's going on. And like, deal heat, I love how that phrase there, because it's true. Like, I've bought deals because I had deal heat before, and that's not the way to do it. You got to not have deal heat, and then punching through the target, right? Most of us we want to go to the finish line and we don't see through it. And we got to think Bruce Lee, because that's how you become ultra successful, which most of the people out here that are listening to a podcast like this, they have aspirations to be more successful. Like, they're driven. They just don't have the guidance to do it. And this is why we put podcasts on, to like whet your appetite and your mind to like, hey, there are courses, right? And that's like me. I know a lot about financing and all this stuff. But I took the course because why? Because I want to get better, right? Like, if you want to get better at something, you got to learn from people that have done it and have a proven method and can teach it, right? They also have to be able to teach it where you can understand it. And that's the big component of like moving it forward. If you like try to do it on your own, you're probably not going to have the success. So you nailed it there. I don't want to keep you too long today because we're coming up on our time, and like, you've dropped so much knowledge. I think we'd love to have you back, whenever possible, just to like drop more knowledge bombs. We're going to drop the link to your course below. And I'm personally saying, hey, I've been through this course. This is like the beginning course. It's going to teach you like 10% of the 1,000% they can teach you. But this 10%, I can tell you, because I went through it, is going to give you a lot of great information where I think it'll make you a much more confident buyer. And then, you can go into their groups and different things like that down the road if you want to find partners and have that, accountability and learn, like, right? Like, I just scratched the surface and I was like, yeah, it's good. It's really good. And I would highly recommend it. So we'll put it down below. Thank you for your time. Any closing remarks?
Yeah. I'd love to come back one day. And the one thing that I talk about on my own stuff that maybe we can talk about next time is something called surges of income. You ever thought about that concept?
I did think about it when I was listening before to your podcast, that you said you talked about surges of income. And right now I want a surge of income, and that's exactly what I need. Right. And it's like, and so kind of define that for me, just to get our appetite.
Yeah. So I can't say I coined that phrase. I got it from Uncle Grant Cardone in a book that he wrote called The Millionaire Booklet. I don't think he ever ran with the concept beyond that. But for me, when I heard about the idea of making more money every year will never make you wealthy, like going after just a little bit more money or increasing your income every year, because cost of living and inflation is always catching up. So to really truly get ahead and to be worth more money, because it's really your net worth at the end of the day. It's what you own minus what you owe. That's what you're worth, right? But it takes money above and beyond your normal income, your normal paycheck, the money that you're making from your job or from your business or whatever else you're doing for a living, right? It takes money above and beyond that to really be able to get ahead in life. So we call that surges of income. Surges of income comes from selling a property or from selling a business or business profit distributions, or if you know digital marketing, learning how to do product launches and live events where you can make tons and tons of money at one time, right? And that's how you can really get ahead in life. So that's what I do. And it's interesting being a real estate investor, business acquisitions investor. I own a live event company. We do product launches. And we have multiple businesses in our portfolio. I've got about 12 right now that pay profit distributions quarterly, right? I've literally engineered my professional life around being able to manifest surges of income, right? So that's kind of the stuff that I teach as well. And the business acquisitions, Carl is the absolute guru on that. I have my niches inside of business acquisitions that I'm the expert at. And then together we really powerful duo. So yeah, one day I'd love to just chat more about that. Or maybe I'll have you come on my podcast and we can talk about lending.
Yeah, no, surges of income it's so appealing. And like when I was, doing some due diligence on you, like researching you and like learning about your digital marketing background and like your live events. And so I do certain things decent, which is like, I think I have a decent organic game where I can rank videos and like get found on search. But like when it comes to like pay-per-click and funnels and things like that, like if you can learn that or have the right person help you build a funnel, I mean, it's so powerful. I watched a friend of mine, she's got a mortgage, she's a residential mortgage broker. And she started doing these funnels, and she learned from somebody that was pretty talented. And it's like her first month, she did like 160,000 in sales, and she didn't even have the coaching program built yet.
Yeah,
Awesome.
awesome.
And the second month, she's like, I'm gonna do 500,000 in sales was her goal, and the amount of money she's paying for the Facebook ads isn't that much. I mean, she's spending 30 grand to make 500 grand. I do that all day long. I mean, and she has other expenses, of course. But yeah, surges of income, I think, is something that sounds very appealing because that's where you have that money where you can dump into buying more rental properties, and that's what we all need. We don't need to just move our income from 200 grand to 240 grand. We need to get a bucket of $200,000 that comes in as a windfall. So I would love to talk about that again,
and not piss it away.
Yeah.
And when you get that money, put it away. So I think of it like resources, right? The goal of an investor in general is to use your money to make them money, right? So you don't have to use your time. So for me, I look at it like resources. Time, money, and wisdom are the resources we have. Can we spend those and never get them back? Yes. Or can we invest them and have them pay a return? Yes. So that's where we're focused that way. So yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you, guys. And everybody watching this, I hope you enjoy it. We'll put the link below. I highly recommend if you're interested and if you're serious about it, right? This is a time well spent. Do the 10-day. Then if you really enjoy it, they've got a lot of other offerings where you can get deep dive. But the 10-day will give you a framework. And I think from there you can say, hey, is this something I'm going to take seriously? Because at the end of the day, whatever you focus on, you have to be serious about it because it's not going to work if you're not serious about it. You don't put the thought process and the effort into making it happen. So thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate it. Thanks everybody for joining. Hey guys, Beau here. If you enjoyed what you saw, please subscribe to this channel. We talk all things financing. I've been in the lending industry for over 20 years, and I'm happy to answer your questions and provide great content.